Welcome to the Bodhi Academy. My name is Shrutika and today let us continue with our chapter Respiration in Plants. So in our previous video we have studied what are the types of respiration, how respiration occurs in plant, and we have seen aerobic and anaerobic respiration. So today let us see in detail about how aerobic respiration takes place in plants. Okay, so what is aerobic respiration? Aerobic respiration is an enzymatically controlled release of energy in a stepwise catabolic process of complete oxidation of food, organic food, into carbon dioxide and water, with oxygen acting as the terminal oxidant. So over here what happens is, the food that we eat, the food which is there present in our system, it is acted upon by the terminal oxidant, that is oxygen. So oxygen acts upon our food to form in a stepwise catabolic process enzymatically. That is, there are many enzymes which are involved, which we will see in our later part, that the enzymes will act upon and the oxygen will act upon the food that we eat, and it will form byproduct, that is carbon dioxide and water, which will be released out from the body. So this is how aerobic respiration takes place in plant, that is in presence of oxygen. So aerobic means in presence of oxygen. So this is about aerobic respiration. So aerobic respiration, as we know that it is a catabolic process, it is a stepwise catabolic process. So this aerobic respiration happens in different cycles. So the first pathway through which the aerobic respiration happens in plant is glycolysis. So this is the first way in which the aerobic respiration happens in plants. So what is glycolysis? So glycolysis is a partial oxidation of glucose or similar hexose sugar into two molecules of pyruvic acid through a series of enzyme mediated reaction, releasing some ATP and NADH2. So this is what, these are the currencies for energy. So from here we will get energy. So glycolysis is a pathway for aerobic respiration, that is the glucose which is there, also similar hexose sugar which is there, it is converted into pyruvic acid through a series of enzyme mediated reaction to release what, ATP and NADH2. So this process occurs in the cytoplasm of the cell. So we all know that a cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. It will have cell wall, then this is the nucleus, and this is the cytoplasm of the cell. So the cytoplasm of the cell, in the cytoplasm of the cell, this glycolysis process occurs. So in plants, glucose is derived from the sucrose or from the storage carbohydrate. So this carbohydrate, this is the product of photosynthesis, that is, it is stored inside the plants. So sucrose is converted into glucose and fructose by enzyme invertase. So as we all know that it is a enzymatic process, so enzyme invertase which is there, it will help in conversion of the sucrose which is there to glucose and fructose. Then your glycolysis start with phosphorylation of glucose in presence of enzyme hexokinase to form glucose 6-phosphate. After that the glycolysis start, that is phosphorylation of the glucose. First what the enzyme invertase do is, it will convert the sucrose to glucose. Then the glucose in presence of enzyme hexokinase will form glucose 6-phosphate, and one molecule of ATP is used for this process. Then in the next step, glucose 6-bisphosphate, that this will be converted to fructose 6-phosphate by the enzyme phosphohexoisomerase. So this enzyme, that is phosphohexoisomerase, will convert the glucose 6-phosphate into fructose 6-phosphate. After that, the fructose 6-phosphate uses another molecule of ATP to form fructose 1,6 bisphosphate in presence of enzyme phosphofructokinase. Then in the glycolysis, two molecules of ATP are consumed during the double phosphorylation of glucose to fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. After this process, after you get 1,6 bisphosphate, you will after that two molecules of NADPH2 are formed at the time of oxidation of glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate to 1,3 biphosphoglycerate. Then each NADH is equivalent to 3 ATP, so that net gain in glycolysis is 8 ATP. So over here, pyruvic acid is the key product of glycolysis. Further breakdown of pyruvic acid depends upon the need of the cell. So here the pyruvic acid will break down to form what? Your ATP. So this is how glycolysis process occurs in plants, that is through aerobic respiration, and this is how in stepwise procedure it occurs with the help of different enzymes to form what? Your ATP, that is your energy, which is released by the cells whenever the cell requires the energy. So let us see now this in a cyclic form. So glycolysis, over here we can see that glucose which is there, it is converted into, this glucose is converted, the glucose is converted to glucose 6 phosphate. Then after that it is converted to fructose 6 phosphate, then fructose 1,6 bisphosphate, then triose phosphate, then it get converted to 1,3 bisphosphoglyceric acid, then phosphoglyceric acid, then it forms phosphoglycerate, and then phosphophenol pyruvate. Then it forms the pyruvic acid, which will then further give you the ATP, which is used to produce energy in the cell. So this is how stepwise glycolysis process occurs in plant. So now let us move to the second cycle, that is the TCA cycle or the Krebs cycle. So TCA cycle or the Krebs cycle, this is the second pathway for aerobic respiration in plants. So this is what now TCA cycle was discovered by Krebs in 1940. This cycle is called as TCA cycle because initial product is citric acid. The acetyl-CoA combines with. So over here what happens? This is the first step. That is the acetyl-CoA will combine with AOAA, that is oxaloacetic acid, OAA, and water to yield what? Citric acid in presence of enzyme citrate synthesis to release what? CoA. So this is the first step of the Krebs cycle or the TCA cycle. Then the citrate is then isomerized to isocitrate. This is followed by two successive steps of carboxylation leading to formation of ketoglutaric acid and then succinyl-CoA. In the remaining steps, succinyl-CoA is oxidized to OAA. OAA is your oxaloacetic acid, allowing the cycle to continue. There are 3 points in the cycle where NAD plus is reduced to NADPH2 and 1 point where FAD plus is reduced to FADH2. A molecule of glucose produces 2 molecules of NADH2, 2 ATP and 2 pyruvate while undergoing glycolysis, and the 2 molecules of pyruvates are completely degraded in the Krebs cycle to form 2 molecules of ATP, 8 NADPH2 and 2 FADPH2. So this is what now the product of glycolysis is your NADPH2, 2 ATP and 2 pyruvate. Okay, here the 2 molecules of the pyruvate are completely degraded in the Krebs cycle. Okay, so the product, that is the 2 pyruvate which is formed during the glycolysis will be used in the Krebs cycle. This 2-pyruvate will be degraded in the Krebs cycle to form what? 2 molecules of ATP, 8 NADH2 and 2 FADH2. Okay, so now let us see how in a cyclic form this process occurs. So this is the citric acid cycle. It is called a citric acid cycle, TCA cycle or Krebs cycle. It has 3 names. So this is what the pyruvate which you have got from the glycolysis. From this acetyl-CoA enzyme, it will form what? Acetic acid. This acetic acid will form alpha ketoglutaric acid. Then it will form your succinic acid, then it will form your malic acid, and then again it will form your oxaloacetic acid, and the cycle then continues to form your 2 molecules of ATP, 8 NADPH2 and 2 FADH2. So this is how the Krebs cycle, citric acid cycle or the TCA cycle occurs in plants. So today what we have learned is the aerobic respiration, in which there are 2 main cycles, that is the glycolysis and the TCA or the Krebs cycle. So thank you for watching today's video. Please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe to the Bodhi Academy.